The RED camera has enjoyed incredible success in the world of cinema, television, not to mention music videos, corporate work, the list goes on. At the time of this video, the only cameras offering comparable features cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. RED has truly put a professional-grade camera within reach of people that could not have dreamed of such a thing just a little while ago. Now, to be a game changer, the camera needs to be different, and RED is. It has its own way of working. RED normally shoots at what we call 4K resolution. That means in terms of pixels, it is 4,520 pixels wide by 2,540 pixels tall. Now, if you want a sense of comparison on that, the highest form of HD that you're used to watching right now on your television sets is 1,920 pixels wide by 1,080 pixels tall. Now, RED is not video, but it's not film. It shoots with something called a RAW file that's 12-bit. DSLR shooters that use RAW when they shoot understand the incredible flexibility of this type of file, and it's the same thing that RED's using. Your 4K image is so much larger that you can do things like slide the frame left to right or punch into a close-up with no loss in resolution and no jaggy. These things are fantastic in saving your rump later when you're putting something together. Now, there's a lot of advantages to using a larger sensor. One is depth of field. By this, I mean you can shoot relatively close to your subject, keeping them sharp in focus, but give them a nice romantic blur to the background. If you come from the world of shooting video cameras and you have a 1/3 inch chip, you realize that in order to simulate that effect, you've had to shoot from pretty far away, sometimes as far as Cleveland. Finally, another real advantage are lenses. Because you're dealing with a 35mm standard size chip, loads of lenses that have been made for years will now work on the RED camera. People coming from a film world tend to adapt to RED quicker than those coming from a video world. The reason being is that a lot of the rules from film will carry over to RED, but a lot of the rules in video do not carry over to RED in the same way. Here's a good example. When you're shooting with your normal video camera, like say a Panasonic camera or a Sony camera, you're used to white balancing the camera, adjusting your gain, and making change to color. And these are permanent changes that you're making to your picture that are recorded either to a card or to tape. Now, in the case of RED, it is not affected by the same things that your video camera is. In fact, the look of the RED picture is affected by 4 things only. They are specifically your frames per second, your shutter, the aperture of your lens, and the kind of lens you put on and stuff you put in front of it. Those of you coming from video, however, are used to things like white balance, gain, and color changes. These changes become permanent in your image when recorded to tape or onto a media card. With RED, it is not the case. And you can make changes to the RED picture. You can white balance the camera. You can affect the gain. You can even make color adjustments. And it will be saved into what they call metadata, and when you play back, you will see those changes. But the wonderful thing is, they are not baked into your picture, and should you need to make massive changes to your color correction later, nothing will be standing in your way. Finally, the biggest advantage that I love as a RED user is RED's ability to shoot at high speed, or as the old folks would call it, overcranking. Right now, at 4K, RED can shoot up to 30 frames per second. The speed of the camera doesn't change. What they've done here is they also allow you to shoot with smaller areas of the sensor, 3K and 2K. The idea being that as RED shoots a smaller area of the sensor, you can get more frames per second. The smaller the frame, the larger the frame rate. So, for instance, at 3K, you can get up to, or what we will say you can get up to, is 48 frames per second. And then at 2K, you can double that again and get up to 96 frames per second. It's important to note that you can actually go a little bit faster if you push it. But because we don't know what recording media you're going to be using, we're picking frame rates that are very effective and we know will work with almost any recording media that you hook up to the camera. If you want, as with all things in this DVD, please feel free to check it on your own and tweak it out as you see fit. But we will be running you on 4K at 24, 3K at 48, and 2K at 96 frames per second.